everybody. Welcome to Wine Time TV. I'm your host, Cameron Phillips. Some of you might remember me. I just recently did a stint called Murphy Good TV. It was a part of a really good job campaign, which I did not get. Yeah, boo hiss. But a great guy did get the job, Hardy Wallace. And if you want to check out his video, here's the link and have a look at what they chose and who they chose. Now I'm back with this new show, WineTimeTV.net. It's about everything wine. We're starting out slowly here, but we're going to hopefully become your #1 portal for wine edutainment on the internet. Just got a phone call from a very special gentleman who I had the honor to interview today. His name is John King. That's not true. His name is James King. I'm getting him mixed up with CNN's John King. James King, he's a sommelier. And what I find really interesting about James is he's an African American. Now, in my limited wine experience, once again, I'm a wine aficionado in training. And with my limited experience, what I have learned, there don't seem to be a lot of black folks in this industry. So that's intriguing to me. It's a challenge, and anyone that knows me knows that I love a challenge. So I'm looking forward to the chance to interview James today. He's on his way over. I think he's coming from San Diego. We are near Long Beach, and it should be quite interesting. So stick around, and we'll see and learn and get to know James King. Right back right after this.
Hello, my name is Dinah. I go by the name Miss Deliverance. I am a spoken word artist, and you are watching WineTimeTV.net.
Hello and welcome back to the program. As you know, we've got excellent top-rated sommelier James King today on the program. And if you've been following my blog at WineTimeTV.net, you probably know I already had a little bit of worries, related to where James King fit on the snob scale. We'd never met before, we'd never even spoken, we'd only tweeted. So when James arrived at my house, he called me, from out front, said, "Hey, I'm on the street, and I'm driving a big black Lexus." Snob alert. Yeah. So cautiously, I went out and I found James on the street. Now, it's true. It was a big black Lexus. But I have to say, the cool thing about James King's big black Lexus is it was dirty as all hell. I mean, it looked like he four-wheel drive his way on over to my house. So, needless to say, the snob alert was retracted. So we got on our way, and he needed some gas. And for me, it just seemed like the perfect time to get the interview rolling. So that's what I did. I asked James King about some of the common misconceptions related to wine culture. This is what he said.
When you want to introduce people to wine, they think, not me. When they think of wine,
Yeah.
they think of white person,
Yeah.
relatively old, middle age, and affluent.
Yeah.
So they automatically think the price of wine needs to cost like $50, $75, and that's not them.
Yeah, and that's something I've learned too in this short little stint, is because people associate quality with price.
Right.
Which is so not the case. I have learned that much.
Absolutely, that is absolutely true. And that's why I say it's a personal experience. And guess what? You can have the same bottle of wine and have a different experience depending when you drink it. It'll taste different when you just open it. It'll taste different if
Half
you
hour later.
decant it. It'll taste different with food.
Yeah.
So education is all about experiencing it. It's not what you read, but you first have to be somewhat have a foundation to understand what you should expect out of the experience.
Sure.
And so it's not that whole snooty thing of, oh, pour, swirl, stick your nose deep, and that's, pinky in the air. That's what people think. It's nothing like that. It could be as simple, and here's the other thing. Everyone says, oh, you need a special glass, you need a special glass. For your first experience, just pour it. and drink it. And better with friends.
Yes, indeed, much better with friends. You are correct, sir. Now, many people say that those who drink a lot of wine with friends are social drinkers. Other people say those who drink a lot of wine alone are alcoholics. What say you? Now, if you've got an opinion on that one, by all means let me know. Write me at info@winetimetv.net and I will include your responses on another show. Okay, now, here's one for you. What about those who drink a lot of wine, but have no friends? Gotcha on that one. All right, enough of that. Let's get back to our guest of the day, top sommelier, James King.
I'm originally from the East Coast. I grew up in New York City, went to college in Philadelphia, and have transversed the United States, just doing different jobs in marketing and in finance and accounting. So first job out of college was Procter & Gamble, and the last corporate job I had was with Adobe. And you can imagine different cultures, different experiences, and also I worked in different functional areas.
Right on. I mean, we got something in common, James and I. Obviously, he's been involved with big machines, big companies, and I've tried to avoid that at all costs. So one of the things that, it's interesting that I come back and I start working with the Jackson family is that there's so many new elements to it for me in general. So the fact that I can actually hang out with a sommelier like yourself, I would never have had that experience probably unless we met by accident. So how did you get into this whole thing? I mean, I can't imagine it was something where you thought, wow, I want to be a wine expert.
A wine expert. That's an interesting thing, but it started where it should start for anyone experiencing wine. So earlier, if you would have asked me about wine, I would have given you sort of the classic answer. Wine of choice was Beringer White Zinfandel. And everyone, when I tell that story, they laugh at me. And I'll tell them exactly why. And it was based on two things. Women loved wine, and I could get Beringer White Zinfandel at the time for $3 a bottle.
And guess what? I don't know if it's true, but it's definitely a German name, Beringer. So is it a German wine either?
Yes, it's a German family.
Okay.
And keep in mind, the United States wine industry was essentially started by Europeans.
Sure.
So, and that's a family, and that's a winery that predates probably Prohibition. So they've been making wine for a long time, and not only that, they actually make more and better wines than that White Zinfandel that I started at. But in answer to your question, in March 1998, I had what I would call an epiphany. Went to Napa, and I should say I went to Napa kicking and screaming. Because I was like, why? But it was a first date, and it was a wonderful first date, I should say that. The name of the winery was Silver Oak. And this is when you could purchase wine at Silver Oak on allocation. And their famous line was, what you buy today, you cannot taste, and what you taste today, you cannot buy. So your experience was you were tasting futures. And I should also say their wines were at the $50 plus range. In fact, today, if you were to go to that winery, their least expensive wine is an Alexander Valley Cab, which is $70 a bottle, and their Napa Valley Cab is probably close to $100 a bottle now.
Wow.
Well, needless to say, it was a wonderful experience, and what I discovered was not that I don't drink wine, that I don't drink cheap wine, or I don't drink bad wine. And then fast forward a couple of years, I started a wine club that started out with 3 sets of neighbors and eventually became a list of over 100 people, and we started doing tasting events, dinners, trips, and tours. And the next result is I am now in San Diego, and I have King Group events, and I do a number of events that are customized for any client, for a group as large, as small as 2 and as large as 50 to 100 people.
Right on, man.
So
Too rich for my blood.